Whenever you feel activated unnecessarily, because there isn't actually an immediate threat within your environment, but you feel this urgency, like, oh God, maybe I need to send that text. I need to send that email now. I need to, even though it's 11:30 at night, I need to say this thing so that people don't think that I actually might have meant some other thing, but I don't actually know that they think that. Or you've got this huge compulsion, like, oh, I have to eat that donut. I need it. My energy's down, blah, blah, blah. What we have to do here, all right, is stop. Don't do the thing. Don't do it. It's not urgent. It's not an emergency. You don't have clear evidence that you have to do that thing. What's happening is you're feeling some kind of tension. You're feeling some kind of fear. Instead, take 3 deep, slow breaths. And then check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how you're doing? What's up? And notice you probably are hungry. You may well be tired. You may well be dehydrated. And you may very well be overheated. Or a combination of all 3. For me, it's often when I'm in rush hour traffic and I'm stuck and it's a blazing hot day and I'm wearing too many layers. And there we are. And I realize, actually, I'm just tired, fed up, angry, hungry, overheated, dehydrated. And I don't need to send that angry email. I don't need to tell that person the thing to make sure that they don't think that I meant something that I think they think I meant. I don't need to do any of that. I don't need to break the silence in a conversation. I can just look at that tree, for example. And then what you'll notice is you don't need that thing. You don't hate that person you were going to send that email to. You don't need the donut. You just need to maybe give yourself a bit of TLC in this moment. Maybe I need to pull over, park the car and go for a walk, breathe that fresh air, and then afterwards, whatever that compulsion was, it'll be gone. So you may well need to write down a list of what actually is urgent right now, what does need to happen now, and what could wait until tomorrow. And out of those things that you're going to need to do tomorrow, which ones are the most important ones? And then which ones can be put on the back burner? Me going live on TikTok for 2 hours? Yeah, no, that's not urgent, is it? Whereas submitting meter readings to the company and not getting a late fee, well, that might be a bit more important. Perhaps that could be more of a priority. This is how to be reflective, not reactive. Because when you're reactive, you don't realize that actually you're a little bit overheated, or you're a bit tired or dehydrated or hungry, or you're not taking care of yourself, and you take it out on the world around you. You project all your anger and frustration and whatever on other people and go, oh, it's his fault or it's her fault. She did this, and it's like, oh, actually, no, I just didn't get a good night's sleep. Speaking of, just I just didn't go to bed on time. Actually, this is my fault. It's not Sally's fault, or it's not James's fault. It's actually my fault that I feel this way. I'm just using that, whatever it is, that frustration, as an opportunity to unleash all my frustration, instead of going within and realizing, oh, actually, there are some things here that I'm not taking care of, that I'm not doing. So that's the difference between being reactive and reflective. When you're reflective, you can step back from things, distance yourself with those deep breaths and focusing on the present moment. Like if I was to just look at that blue sky and really, really notice it, God, that's very relaxing. Distancing yourself from your thoughts and your feelings, and then you can start to see what's actually going on. And from that place of calmness, you can come up with a plan to stop it, or you can just ignore it because it doesn't even matter. So make space and connect with yourself. Another way you know that you're abandoning yourself is if you talk uncontrollably and you keep going on like this and that and the other, and then this thing happened and that thing happened, and then when this and that and that and that and that and that, like you notice you're not breathing and pausing and reflecting. It's so important to catch yourself when you do that. Don't beat yourself up, but catch yourself when you're doing that, because you're in some kind of a trance now. You've like abandoned yourself. And also, if you don't pause and take a breath and reconnect with yourself, you're more likely to say something that you don't mean, or something that might not be the most helpful thing to say. Whereas if you stop, pause, reflect, you might then realize you need to recalibrate and change the direction of the conversation, because what you're saying isn't actually what you really mean. And so sometimes, you need to reconnect to yourself, create some space, and think, well, actually, what do I really mean here? What do I actually want to say? You don't need to do the compulsion. You don't need to eat that donut. You don't need to drink the beer. You're going to feel absolutely shite afterwards, and you know it. It's not going to create pleasure. It's going to a very temporary hit of dopamine followed by a massive hit of pain to balance the scales out, right? So you don't need to do that. You don't need to obsessively wash your hands. You don't need to check the lock 5,000 times. I mean, yes, definitely do check it one time only. Carefully check it once. I'm going to say that. You don't need to smoke cigarettes. That's not helpful. Don't need to do that. Although I know that's a harder one to quit. You don't need to break the silence when you feel uncomfortable. On the other side of discomfort is joy. So pleasure actually comes from the other side of pain. I don't mean physical pain. I don't mean, going and doing ridiculously stupid things and being a macho idiot. What I mean is challenge, right? Nothing feels better than coming off stage for me when I've performed live. But before I do it, there's a great deal of discomfort. An unbearable amount of discomfort. It feels like the ground is going to open up and swallow me. Pretty much every time that happens, people are like, oh, you don't know what it's like to be nervous. I'm like, yes, I do, but I know that when you push through, it comes out good. It tends to come out good, and you feel incredible on the other side of discomfort. When you don't do that compulsion, yeah, you feel pretty rough for a while. But eventually, you step back, you do your deep breathing, you do more deep breathing, you start looking around, noticing the sky, noticing the green leaves, noticing this, noticing that, feeling the ground under your feet. You keep going, and eventually you find out what it is that's really, what you really need. Maybe it's a glass of water, maybe it's to step outside, get some fresh air, maybe you just need to stop doing and give yourself a bit of a rest, whatever it is. And you're going to feel better. You're going to feel much better. On the other side of pain is joy, is pleasure. If you do things that spike your dopamine to a ridiculous level, like junk food, alcohol, drugs, all these things that our ancestors never had access to, you are going to get a lot of pain. So we're not built to have that much dopamine. We're not built to get that level of dopamine, especially that easily. Typically, our ancestors would have had to really work hard to get the tiniest hit of dopamine. They would have had to go and hunt, or who knows what, do some very, very difficult things to get a little bit of a feeling of reward. So there'd always be an upfront cost of pain and effort, exertion. It's not like eating a donut or drinking beer or whatever. They couldn't do that. They couldn't suddenly get this much dopamine that easily. So when the body gets that much of a dopamine spike, in order to get homeostasis, when the pleasure goes that far down on the scales, guess what's going to come up to balance it? A lot of pain. Hence why people have calm downs and hangovers and things. When you do that cheap synthetic dopamine that has zero upfront effort, like video games or whatever it is, you're going to get hit with a load of pain. Whereas if you do the natural way, you go and do some exercise, you're going to have a huge dopamine release. Yes, there's going to be some upfront pain. It's going to be a simulation of what our ancestors were doing. It's going to give us the kind of dopamine release that we're used to, which starts with quite a bit of pain and discomfort, followed by the scales then evening out. So you're pressing on the pain side, doing something uncomfortable, not physically dangerous, something uncomfortable like exercise or cold water immersion, or whatever it is. And then the pleasure side is going to come up to balance it out. That's how things work. So if you really want pleasure, do something uncomfortable, something difficult, right? You've got a stack of dishes to wash, and you've got a pile of laundry that needs to go out, and it's like -3 degrees outside. Perfect. Do those things. Obviously, make sure you're wearing the right kind of clothes if you go out in the freezing cold, and you're not putting yourself at any environmental risks. And then afterwards, you're going to be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Okay, you could even go for a nice evening walk as well, provided you wrap up warm and don't take any stupid risks. You're going to feel even better now. Okay, because it is going to be a bit uncomfortable doing all those three things. But don't become somebody who punishes themselves. Don't become all like ultra militant and David Goggins. And I have respect for that guy, but don't do what he's doing. He had to do those things in order to achieve what he's achieved. But don't become somebody who constantly beats himself up or herself up. You can still soothe yourself, but in a natural way, like a warm bath. It's a great way to naturally soothe yourself, and it won't get hit with a massive calm down. It's a beautiful thing to do. Meditation, breathwork, fantastic. Doesn't take that much effort at all, but it's a natural way to feel good, and it won't be hit with a huge calm down. Eating things like fresh fruit, for example, get some mango, some pineapple, some strawberries or something like that. You're going to get a lot of pleasure from that. But again, there won't be a come down unless you have way too much. But the body will actually start signaling once you've had enough, because it actually knows what those things are. Because for many, many years, we've eaten foods like that. Foods with vitamins and minerals and fibers that come from Mother Earth, okay? So yes, continue to soothe yourself. And inner child work as well. Just Google that and read about it. I'm not talking about that now. Inner child healing and soothing. Yep, great work. Self-soothing. But not going outside of yourself and stamping on some external dopamine thing or looking for some solution outside. No, you're going within. You're connecting to yourself. You're not abandoning yourself. Deep breath. Reconnect. What do I need right now? Ooh, I am actually starting to overheat now. Look at that. It's hot out here. Yeah, I'm going to have to take this off in a minute. Reconnect. What is it that I need? How am I feeling? My arm's starting to ache holding this up. Yeah, I'm going to have to stop this video. And I'm going to have to take off my hoodie. And I might even need to sit down and chill for a bit because I've been walking for a while now. Yeah, that's how you do it.